So how have you been, Ramiz?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Lately, when I tried to do TRE, and my body started to shake without my intention. It's like out of my control in a way. And after a while, I started to notice that my mind it tries to take control of the shaking in a way.
Yeah.
It tries to exaggerate the shaking or resist it in a very subtle way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if a child fall and try to act like he fall on purpose
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
or tries to laugh out the embarrassment, something like that. Uh, so I'm starting to notice this outside, even TRE, but not all the time. It's very, very sneaky how, and it feels like it's all about fear of losing control. Um, and I was thinking about what really I'm in control of, or what I'm not in control of. And I started to notice that a lot of things I'm not in control of, and including inside my body, outside. And in a sense, it feels like trust is already the case.
Trust.
Trust is already, yes, is already the case. Like life is lifing, is doing its own thing
Mm.
without my participation in it, my willing participation. And I just can play with it or just try to scream and shout and do whatever, resisting it.
Mm.
And but it also feels like it's not like it doesn't matter. It matters because I feel like the movement of my mind or these habits, it has its own influence or its own effects on things. Like the more I am attached, identified, things happens in a way, like life has its own flow that I'm not going with it in a way. I don't know if I can explain it. Um, I don't know if this influence is true or not, but I feel it has to be true because why we're here.
Mm. Yeah. How much importance do you put on that? I think it must be because that stuff. Do you put much importance on that?
Um, I don't know. It's just curiosity, maybe.
Yep. Yeah. Good. Okay. Yeah. So how do you feel about the idea or the what is dawning on you that you're not in control of what's going on? How do you feel about that? Is that a good thing or not a good thing?
Sometimes it's terrifying and sometimes it's relieving. It's weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that's good. Can be both. So have you discovered in your experience what is the difference from when it's terrifying and when it's, did you say freeing? What was the other one? You said
There's like some relief, maybe.
relief. Yeah, okay. So what's the difference between those two? How is it? What makes one almost the opposite of the other?
It's, I think, how I feel. It's like noticing this moment, like this impulse of control is um, there's a sense of surrender maybe, or letting go, or when the mind is quiet and just, it's like when my body is shaking and I'm just with this vibration, with this movement, and I'm just not trying to control it. It feels nice, it feels
Mhm.
big, it feels uh, it's like swimming in
Yes.
a way
Yep.
with the tide, with
Yep.
the
Yep.
waves.
Being supported by the, is that,
But then the impulse comes very fast, yeah, to control, to make to take control of these waves in a
yeah.
way.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
In a
Is that when it becomes terrifying?
Yeah,
Because you realize you
it
can't
doesn't feel
control it?
it, it doesn't feel right. Yeah, it doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel.
Mm, mm.
It feels like a made up control in a way. Like
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Well, control is made up because it's not actual, is it? So yeah, we have to convince ourselves that we're in control. It's all a story. Yeah. But when it feels like you don't have control, it's a fearful situation. And then at other times you still don't have control, but you're happy with it. You're okay with it. And then it's freeing. Is that,
yeah,
yeah? So something different happens in you for one, and then for the other, something different happens.
yeah.
Is that something, stories that you tell yourself that come up, that arise?
That makes me sometimes, yeah, but uh, um, it's more like this loss of control in general, like the feeling itself of I can't really predict the next moment. Like it's out
Mm,
of my control.
mm. That's when it's terrifying, is it?
Yeah,
Mm. And of course, there's ideas in the background that you should be able to control it or that it should not be happening. Is that accurate?
I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when it's terrifying. Yep. So what is it what is it that happens differently when it's not terrifying, when it's actually freeing? What has happened that's different?
This movement doesn't happen, maybe. Uh, it's like nothing happens, but this extra way of trying to make effort is not happening. It's like giving up in a way.
Yes, yes. A resignation, but not a unpleasant resignation, not a victim kind of resignation, eh? Or is it? Maybe it is. I don't know. Is it? What? How does that feel? That resignation? Is it acceptance more than resignation?
I don't know.
Mm,
Um,
right. These are things for you to look at next time it happens. Next time you get the opportunity. And so we use, how can I put it? We use cover words, we use concepts to describe things that we're experiencing, but but in actual fact, what we're doing is escaping those things by using those concepts. We're not looking at what is actually happening. Mm.
Hello?
Still there?
The lights went off.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. You're just in the dark. Yeah. So can you understand what I'm saying about when we use labels for what's going on with us? It's often a way of avoiding looking at what is going on with us.
Yeah, this is what I noticed about this movement, that it has a lot of like strategies. One of them is actually making labels and trying to map things, understand them, and make a theory. Maybe I think I'm doing this now,
Yep,
uh,
yep.
and and it also happens in an avoidant way, running away from life, from people, work, and
Yeah.
situations that in
Mm.
a flight or freeze response.
Yes,
Um,
yep. Yes, and we don't
Sometimes
do
with the
physically.
stories and sometimes without stories.
Mm.
Just habitual reaction to life.
Yep.
No,
Well, we've had a lifetime to develop those reactions, haven't we? Those ways of coping with it. And now we're looking to undo a lot of that. We're looking to be more authentic with what we feel. But it sounds to me like you have pretty good insight into what's going on when you can describe what goes on for you the way you do. You're seeing it fairly clearly. One of the hardest.
but I'm not sure.
You're not what?
Sorry, go on. I was gonna say I'm not sure if um, this maybe you say insight. I'm not sure if it's co-opted by my ego or my mind in a way. that it fits its own agenda of resignation or passivity or um, running away of things and avoiding, like, okay, I'm not in control. I'm uh, um, just like admitting I'm not in control as a strategy
Yep.
to avoid something.
Yeah. Yeah, the mind really complicates things with stories that it comes up with. Paying attention to the body, what the body is telling us, the body does not lie, but the mind does all the time. So if we pay attention to the body without the need to describe it or without trying to communicate it even to ourselves, just being aware without labels is absolutely the fastest way to get where we want to go. Just keep watching. That's all I think of. Keep watching. We think we've got to do stuff, and in actual fact, that doing is also an escape. So we don't, by just watching, even though that's also a doing, but it's about as close as we can get to not doing, just observing what goes on is a really, really good strategy. And the moment you find yourself asking questions or trying to answer questions, just come back to the body. What am I feeling? And just be aware of describing it with labels. How are you, David? Have you got your fidget thing going today?
I picked something up, but I put it back down.
You don't have to do that. You're allowed to fidget, you know.
A question that came up for me is, do you think it's that way for everyone that um, that labeling is always a slower path, and that dropping that mind activity is always a good thing
Well, we
to
can't.
stay in the body?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, it's a bit of a trick question or whatever to try and generalize to everybody. Everybody does it in their own way. But yeah, I do think, I mean, the mind is like a tool in the toolbox, and we have a use for it that we use, and it's particularly useful when it comes to communicating with other people, and it's particularly useful with other things as well. But it's an inappropriate tool to relate with, to use to relate to what's going on in our life. So yeah, I think as it gets more complicated and subtle perhaps, but at this stage, yes, everything you think is a diversion. Everything is an escape. What we're looking for is a world that's beneath words, a world that we can't actually use words to describe. That's where the juice is to live. Now that's what Liberation Unleashed calls direct experiencing. So experiencing for that moment before mind arrives. And we can't stop mind arriving, but we can know when it gets there that it's not relevant.
Yesterday, it occurred to me that direct experience is fundamentally, it comes to sensation. Each of the senses, hearing, tasting, there are different tastes, which are there because there are different sensations. It's the same with each sense.
Yeah.
So you can replace the word sensation with object. It's an object, and there's knowing of that object. But how much information is there in those sensations? I just
Okay, yeah,
my tendency is always to need to approach it with some labeling
yeah.
and analyze it.
Yep. Well, that's a way of not approaching it.
You think it's always a way of not of distancing?
Yep.
I think a really helpful exercise is to choose a sense, to work with some direct experiencing. And you know, if you're just looking at seeing, you literally just say, you remove all labels. You don't even need to you know that you're seeing colors and shapes, but you don't need to label them. It's just seeing. It's like a tapestry of seeing. And then becoming somehow saying, how can I get closer into this? Sometimes I think sound maybe is easier. You have, sounds going on. It's also quite helpful to have like a regular, like a fan or something that somehow is a bit repetitive, but then you've got other sounds going on, and you take away all the labels of where they're placed. If it's a car outside, it's just a sound. There's no distance, there's no locality, it's just sound. Tapping your hand on the table is just sound. So it's just sound. And then like seeing if you can in a way get closer into almost sort of melting into the sound experience. And I can't say how you do that. You just say, how can I get closer into this sound? And somehow then there's almost like a dissolving into, and this experience like that really, really calms the mind, because somehow all the attention is not on labeling. It's not on their interest isn't on the sounds themselves as individual sounds to be recognized. It's just on the soundscape or the sound field, and somehow this merging of all the cells in the body somehow takes place, and there's no hearer, there's no heard, there's just sounding or hearing. And the mind, there's nowhere for the mind in that.
What you find
That's,
also,
like something.
Yeah. So sound is great. Sound is really good because it's for some reason it works better than sight. But you'll very quickly, when you merge with that sounding with the, you merge with the, well, we just have to say sound, although it's not quite right. When we merge with that, you'll find that your whole being synchronizes with it. So you'll find that there'll be vibrations going on that are in sync with the sound that you're experiencing. I was going to say the sound that you're hearing, but you're not hearing it. You're experiencing it. And so that sound becomes also a tactile thing. So the senses, when we get beneath labels, the senses start to bleed into each other. Right? There's no such thing as just hearing, because when you are just hearing, you'll also be feeling. Yeah? So things are really tricky there. Yeah. You said earlier, and something that jumped up in my mind when you said it, about observing an object. You don't observe an object. You observe your interpretation of whatever that is, not the object itself. And if you were to rest in that observing, sink into that observing, then the experience will be of the seeing rather than of the object or the seer. There'll just be the act of seeing, and not even the act of seeing, the experience of seeing is what will become the dominant thing. Yeah. And the moment you start thinking about it, it takes you out of that. Yeah. So, but you're right in some other ways, I think, and that is that the sensations are like the object that you see. Yeah. But again, you have to get below the level of mind that says, I am experiencing a sensation. There's me and there's a sensation. There isn't.
Yeah.
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 David, I don't know if this is at all close to what you're getting at, but what came to mind for me is early in my, I don't know, awakening journey years ago, I remembered like not having any ability to feel it in my body and to even know what I was feeling. And I found labels to be helpful in order to distinguish and identify what I was feeling and where I was feeling it, because I couldn't I couldn't come up with the like the distinctions. There's this sort of notion that I remember, maybe it was like from Ken Wilber, is like you can't integrate until you can like identify or distinguish. I'm not sure what words exactly he used. It's clear. It's much clearer to communicate, I think, with feelings and emotions. I remember when I was going to therapy, my therapist would also often ask me, okay, like what are you feeling in this situation or as a result of this? And I didn't have any way to describe it or communicate it, and I needed to use, I think it was a list of needs and feelings from Mickey Cashton, and it was like this huge list of like 75 different feelings, and I would have to look through the list. Okay, it's not that. Okay, that's what it is. It's frustration. And I didn't have any way of describing it without referring to this master list of possible feelings to experience. And that helped me get clear on what was arising. And then it also helped me get clearer on what was happening in my body and where it was happening. And so it's almost like the labels for me were a stepping stone into understanding what sensations were arising and where they were arising. Was it tension or was it relaxation? Was it warm or cold? And I don't know how I don't know how I would have gotten there without that stepping stone of first applying labels so that I could then remove them.
Were you at the time that you were doing that aware of the distancing that using the labels did for you? I mean, you're
No.
kind of using them in the opposite way to what I was talking about a minute ago. But I can
Yep.
see the validity of it. I can see the value of it, as long as you understood that, okay, this is a label I'm using as a convenient stepping stone. It's not what the actual thing is. It's just a way into the actual thing.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was
Mm.
I had no idea what I was doing. And at
But
that moment I was, go ahead.
I was going to say, it seemed to work for you.
It was helpful. I was so suffering was so intense all the time that I was looking for anything to help. And
Mm.
this you know, this approach with the fetters was outside of my world. I didn't know what existed.
Mm.
But what was helpful, as I guess as a stepping stone into this path, was my therapist was very interested in helping me feel into my body and what was present right now and what was arising. What was fascinating is that I've been meaning to follow up with him, because in the moment I had no um, idea where it was leading, but he would always just ask me, like, even like at the start of our sessions, what do you feel in your body right now? End of story.
Mm. Mm.
But I was so confused, but it seemed helpful.
Mm. He was getting you out of your head. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, was I in my head?
Well, we all are. That's that's where we come from. Every one of us, I think. Yeah. Yeah. We make work of it when we don't need to. But that work we make of it is a distraction. It's a way of us getting away from what we're looking to do. Mm. I kind of lost you a bit there, David. What are you feeling about things now, right now?
I think this is something that I will take to heart. It seems to kind of go against my grain, and I guess that just is indicative of how much I rely on analysis and labeling
Yep.
and figuring out.
Yep. 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 Yeah. The crazy thing is we think we're trying to work through it, but the reality is that we're running away from it. And yeah. And for somebody that is very adept at using their mind to escape, trying to figure it out, trying to work it out, trying to get some kind of mental satisfaction. That's a habit that's hard to break. It takes
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wanting to get a handle. It's a habitual way
mm,
of approaching experience or experiencing life.
yeah.
But I also I would say that when it's recognized, the commitment to go there definitely arises. I can no longer be content with without surrendering into whatever direction. Like this is very valuable.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Discovery is great. I love it. I love it. Yeah. But the commitment arises spontaneously. It's not something that you have to effort to do, does it? It's just your nature. Your nature is, yeah, great.
Yeah, that that's also a valuable like recognizing anything that arises that is contrary to the recognition of any deviation from the recognition of just pure knowing. That anytime something creeps in terms of um, wanting to influence what's happening, or because then there's that opportunity to see what it's made of.
Mm, exactly.
Like last week I was feeling a lot of resistance to the meeting, and then that recognition came, and it brought such gratitude for that opportunity to just sit in it and embrace whatever was arising, that resistance, and it all melted. It melts as soon as that recognition comes that this is what's happening, and there is no any sense of rising against it. Is imagination,
Mm,
hallucination. So yeah,
excellent. Yeah, yeah, that's
it just
good.
becomes a pleasure to meet whatever is happening.
Yeah. And it's so hard to get that message across, that the recognition, the seeing of what's going on is all it takes for change. And it's the only way to change. The moment you set out to change, all you do is reinforcing what you were trying to change. So
And it feels like when that recognition comes, it's like a bubble pops, and that bubble is always thought.
yeah. I had a mental image of a mind fart. Thought popping. Gone. Yeah. Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
it does pop,
Something
you're
like that.
right there.
Yeah.
It leaves you right with what's left.
Yep. And open-hearted as well, accepting and open-chested, and yeah, lovely. Yeah. Yeah. And all we have to do is remove effort, and it happens. Mm.
And the gratitude, like, it just feels so good to move from imagination to what is actual. And that you can't help but feel gratitude for that transition out of what is at odds with what's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, with the conflict. Yeah.
It just feels good.
Yeah. Mm. How are you traveling, Julia? You just tell me if you want to be quiet.
Okay, then I'm quiet.
Okay. How's things for you, Helen?
Hi. Um, a few things really. I was following the last meeting, or the meeting before on YouTube, and there was a fella, and you were guiding him, and I think it was about responsibility. I think it started off with, and it was being guided through, into his body and one thing. So I followed along, and I got to a point where a lot of anger came up, and oh yeah, it was about suffering. A lot of anger came up, and uh, I felt myself saying, or I saw myself saying, no, 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 I'm not going to take your hurt and pain anymore, or words to that effect. And it was my mother, and I've I thought I'd long dealt with it, about 10 years ago. I thought I'd sort of through this, just sort of forgive and all of that. But it was still there, must have been still there in some form, but it felt stale, felt really stale and old stuff.
Yep.
So that sort of came and went, and I was into Pernilla as well, and she was saying, I can't remember what she was saying, but the bubble of reality, and it suddenly dawned on me that everything I feel has nothing to do with other people or what I see, or so other people should have absolutely no effect on me. It's only me that experiences those feelings or projections, and it was all down to me. I thought, gosh, that changes everything somehow, because nobody's responsible for my unhappiness or whatever. They're not, how can I put it, they're not responsible for anything that I feel. It's all what's in me that's coming up in. So, if I've explained that right.
Yeah, I got it. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But I thought, gosh, that really is an about turn somehow. It felt like I don't know, something I really need to sort of let that sink in, because like the fella before, I've come from a place where mind was everything, and analytically looking at everything everything in my being, and analytically, that was my safe thing. I realise now it was my method of safety, to put things in boxes, to separate things. I understand what they're coming from, and it's all made up now, I know. But I was told it once that let go of mind, or a good few years ago, and like, no way, and I was so resistant to it. But now I know it is all mind. It's I thought it's taken me this long to realise all of that.
Yep.
So
when you say
yeah,
that you saw that other people are not responsible for what you feel, that it's all you, have you also seen that you're not responsible for what you feel, for what goes on?
Yeah, perhaps the wording's wrong.
Yeah,
What
responsible was a
sort
shitty word. Yeah.
The reactions to what others say.
Yes.
There might be an automatic feeling that comes up. Like I'm staying with family now, so I'm very, very aware of what I say, what they say, and my reactions. Because I don't speak to anybody about this, so I can never get the language right.
Yeah, that's right. I understand that. Yeah.
So, no, I can't be responsible. No, no, it must just be. No, I can't be responsible for what. Yeah, I didn't see it from that point as well. But yeah, that must be the case. Yeah.
Yep. So what we end up with is the words are not good again here. There's a kind of, don't take me literally, there's a kind of an objectification, right? What comes up in you is what comes up in you, and it's got nothing to do with anybody or anything. It's what it is a result of everything. It's your entire history, your DNA, all of the circumstances, the century you got born into, all of those things add up to what happens, what comes up. There's no responsibility, there's no blame, there's nothing like that. That's just all additional stuff we can put on top of it.
It's amazing. Amazing.
Tell me about it. What is?
It's just amazing that's what happens.
It is amazing, actually. Literally amazing. Yeah. When we stop judging it, because there's no point in judging it, it's just the way it is. When we stop judging it, we start to see it more clearly as well. And that's when it changes. Yeah. And we can't even describe what comes up, what we're talking about, the stuff that happens. It just, yeah, it is what it is, what it is, what it is. The moment we start to describe it, we change it. It becomes something else. Yeah.
Yeah, we distance ourselves straight away with the mind coming in, and it just distances. It pulls us away from it all.
Yes, big time. Yeah. Yep. We alienate ourselves from reality when this starts working. Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that truly amazing?
Yes. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, and you just sort of think, well, how many people in this world live like, I mean, I live like that until I realised, but
Yeah.
isn't it sad?
It is.
Isn't it sad that?
Yeah. And it's a big issue. Yeah, it's a big thing for us. All of the shit that goes on in the world, and there's all that big shit like the wars and all that stuff that goes on. But there's all this little stuff that's big stuff, and that is that the stress levels that everybody seems to live in all day, every day, over trivial stuff, really trivial stuff. No wonder there's so much bad shit going on. Yeah, but I don't know. It has it's well, it just happens, doesn't it? Maybe
Yeah.
there's some kind of meaning or whatever in it. I don't know. And I'll probably never know. I can't know that. Yeah. It's just the way it is. Yeah. Yeah.
But again, it's sad that, you know, I mean, I'm in my late 60s now, how all of my life's been spent just worrying about trivia.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
whole of it, the whole of it, just
Yeah. 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 But
worrying about
yeah.
what the next door neighbour said, or I'm
Yeah.
not cleaned this, or I've not. It's quite sad, really.
Yeah. Listen, 5 minutes in the sun is way more something than a lifetime in the dark. Yeah. It only takes
Well, we don't get sun here in the
yeah.
UK
Yeah.
with no sun. But
Well,
that's right. I thought that. I did think that the other day. I thought just, yeah, 5 minutes in the sun. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
yeah. I love what I'm hearing from you. It sounds like, you know, you're going well. You're catching things as they happen. You're seeing it. Yeah, great. I like that.
It's only since communicating with you on LU and others and Panilla, and so it's only come just latterly.
Yep.
After years and years of searching, years
Yeah.
and years of searching.
I know that. Yeah. Yeah. I searched for well over 40 years. I
And me.
I just think it's
And me.
funny when I think about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I look back and think it is what it is, and it's sort of, it was a big learning curve, and I've learned as I've learned, and thought I could do it in my mind.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, we can think of it. We can think of all those years of seeking, and you think, oh, yeah, wouldn't it be great if I woke up 50 years ago or something like that? But then you realize that, you know, it happened the way it happened because that's the way it happened, and couldn't have happened any other way. So it took
Yeah.
40 years of wandering around in the desert to to
Yeah.
whatever happened. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're very welcome.
Mhm.
Yeah. How are you traveling, Matthias?
Hi, Vince. Actually, I'm on a retreat. I'm on the fourth day of at least 10 days retreat. And yesterday I just unraveled a very big thread. You know, I'm quite shocked about how many things just unravel in just a second, because I wasn't accepting that I had already seen through self. I was like, okay, that's it. And my mind was just making up stories to justify no, but you're still attached to some sensations, you're still attached to some narratives, but it wasn't all true. The problem is that I still had a belief that I couldn't say, oh, I'm enlightened, I'm awakened. So I was investigating piece by piece. Then I found kind of that I thought that I don't know, people will look down on me. People will think that I'm so cocky because, oh, I'm enlightened, I'm awakened. So I just thought, wait, why does this matter? Why am I caring about that?
Mm.
This was the first clue. Then I understand. Maybe there's a need to be liked by others, by feeling special, and I had already glimpsed that before. So, well, that makes quite a lot of sense. And I remember the story of the girl I dated in the beginning of the year. And yes, everything was down to that. I wanted to be felt special.
Yes.
and it happened quite also that this was the underlying theme about my whole problem with working with job, and I was masquerading it with the narrative of, oh, I've got to have responsibilities because in the future I'll have to take care of my mother. But no, in the end I was just wanting to feel special from her. I would care about what other people would think about, and I dug deeper, 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 and it was just this sensation in the body. And then I remember the whole all the times which in my childhood I was denied being feeling special, demonstrating love. I did this mental exercise of talking with my inner child, what he wants, what he needed, and everything. The whole theme of my life up to this day was about feeling special for someone else.
Yeah.
And now I got to a place where I could be this, and now I'm just feeling okay. Everything just resolved itself. And now I know actually I am at where I thought I was in my progress. I have no more doubts because it was just that, just
Yeah.
a need of approval,
Yes. So second doubt fell for you. Excellent. Yes.
Exactly.
Yep. And yeah, okay. In Australia here we have a thing called a tall poppy syndrome. So where people who stick their head up above the crowd, they get their head cut off because we can't stand out and be something different. Yeah. But the special thing is interesting, so we don't want to be special. We don't want to stick our head up and get it cut off and be special, but we do want to be special, but we don't want to appear to be special. And so it's a bit
Exactly.
of a funny circular thing that goes around. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, then we realize that we're not special. We're not special. It's something else altogether. Yeah. I mean, I guess we've seen it, a generational thing here where we tried to say to every kid, yes, you're special. But we were kind of achieving the opposite of what we were doing because we're saying everybody's special, therefore nobody's special. That's an interesting one. Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. Good stuff. Yeah. So it's happening for a few of you. Great. Good stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. And I actually remember when I met this inner child, I did this exercise of asking him, what do you want? So I can have your needs met. So do you want to eat something tasty, something? And no, it wasn't quite that. Or do you want to play a video game that you doesn't play for a long time? Okay, also, it wasn't that. But then I thought, would you like to meet Amanda? That's the girl that I'm currently dating now. And it was a big yes. So I understood that what I wanted to feel special, but to feel special, I wanted to also make other people special. I wanted to love other people, this is what would make me feel special. And it was great because actually I discovered a quality I have, a virtue, So actually I'm quite content with the progress I've been making these days.
Good stuff. So what retreat are you on now? Is that not a very passionate?
I'm doing a home retreat just to deal with the stuff. I'm just doing whatever I need to do.
Okay.
Because when we go to retreats, that's the third one I'm doing. We always have a schedule, something we must do, and it happens that this quite takes a lot of our attention the whole time.
Yeah.
So now I'm just doing what the body needs to do instead of forcing this. No, I must sit here for this amount of time, or I must fast. Because just leave room, to leave space for things to get sorted out in the mind, to do this shadow work. I think that keeping things not too tight, not too loose, is more. It's more fertile ground for the mind to work itself out.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that like we escape from experiencing with our mind, but we also escape from it with activity, with doing things. So one of the ways to see what is going on at that shadow level for us is to sit and do nothing and watch the urges that come up to escape from that. Yeah. Something I plan to do in the next short period of time is to spend 8 hours sitting and doing nothing. That I imagine is going to be hard.
Yes, I just cut all distractions, no TVs, no cell phones, nothing like that, and I'm going silent. I'm not talking with anybody.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
just total silence, no distractions.
Yeah. Well, being silent is a great way to send the mind into overdrive. The mind will try and the mind does not like silence.
Yeah, but actually I've been quite calm because I'm already acquainted actually to meditate a lot, and so this hasn't been a problem. But yes, the mind is surfacing all the things that I've been distracted with meditation, even because you get so okay. I'll get here concentrated, and you kind of learn to direct the mind to these concentrated states like jhana and things. But at some point, this might be counterproductive. Maybe it's just better to just be.
Yes. Yes. It's almost an impossibility for us to rest in, I don't know how to put it, to just float, to not do anything. This is what I mean. It's almost impossible for us to be just at rest, and awake. Even sleeping is a good way to escape things as well.
Yes.
Mm.
And also, you guys were talking a little early about how you even commented how the senses, they bleed into each other. Into the second to the third day, I was meditating on the Prajna Paramita, but not in the text, but in the idea of the text. Like, for example, visions you can't perceive your eye, or this. And I was doing this laying down on my bed, and I was exactly trying to do this, to hear with the eyes. I was kind of intentionally trying to cross the senses. And what happened is that I got so concentrated that was having fruitions while doing this. And it had some different quality than what I'm used to, because I got fruitions from anicca, from the transitory sense door. I just let things pass on. But now this kind of fruitions is quite entertaining actually, because it just seems like everything just agitates itself like a buzzing thing, and the mind just gets resetted. It's quite a funny thing to do actually.
Yeah. Yeah. It's getting down below the level of words. That's the really big thing about it. It's getting down to what is actual. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. How's things been for you, Don?
Yeah. Yeah. Was it you? I think maybe it was you. I heard saying about when people would say, "How are you going?" and you'd actually give them the answer. to that question. Is that and then you realize people didn't really mean how are you actually going? But I do tend to give people the full answer when during my life when people ask me that. So in this case, I know you did actually mean that this time, but there's a long answer and a short answer, right? Obviously. But I'm very slightly hungover today, so I apologize. I'm just sort of struggling, but yeah. I think that I'm even embarrassed. I'm kind of embarrassed now in the last few days, and you already know me as someone who flipping well talks about themselves quite a lot, but in the last couple of weeks, I feel so overwhelmed with everything in my life. I don't know. I feel like I've never felt as overwhelmed in my whole life. It feels like everything has gone wrong one after another until I'm just adrift or something. It's just really like I've been a few of the days during this week, I was pacing up and down the house going, what the fuck am I going to do? I can't keep my head straight. I can't see any way forward. I have no plans. I have no optimism. I don't feel I have anyone to talk to. And I have you to talk to, and there's a bunch of really nice people like you, and I'm really grateful for that. But it just feels like everything has kind of fallen apart. And I'm almost afraid of how at a loss I am. And maybe part of me is kind of going, oh, well, this is great for non-duality. I'll recognize there's no future and there's nobody else in the world, and it's great. And but then part of me is going, oh, fuck, I'm really just about getting from one end of the day to the next and doing a very small amount of work for my job because it's not busy right now. And just kind of, yeah, I mean, because both my parents died in the last year and a half, and they were, small. I noticed those things happening. It wasn't terrible. But I've been depressed for 35 years and trying to struggle to figure out how to work that out. I don't have a job I like, and I'm trying to work that out. Pretty more depressed in the last 8 years because a few things went wrong in my job, and and it's kind of okay, it's just not great. And then there was a sort of a heartbreak thing for me recently, which kind of knocked me a bit. Came back from Angelo's retreat to my first Christmas with no parents, and then I got COVID just before Christmas, and I couldn't go to my cousins, so I spent the whole Christmas on my own. And I'm just at a fucking loss now. And I know there's other people here who have problems in their lives, and I'm not the only person with problems, but I just feel totally unmoored or something. I'm like, I have no plans whatsoever for January or 2024 or the rest of my life. I cannot think of anything positive to do with myself for the year. And I feel like, even though here I am talking to all you lovely people, I feel like there's no one. I'm kind of in my mind going, somebody please help me. I can't fucking manage this. There's too much. I'm too upset. I'm too afraid. It's unbelievable. I'll just ramble for one more second or a few. I was working with Luchan. I'm doing a bunch of different things since I came back, just to kind of replace some of the support I had up to recently. And we were doing some stuff with fear on myself and Luchan on Thursday, which was really good. But I was feeling it yesterday. It's funny, I did an MDMA thing last Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so I missed your one last weekend. It looked like some really good stuff happened that on your meeting last Sunday, Monday for you. But and I was still so confused despite the MDMA thing. It was really but yesterday I was feeling it. I was just walking along feeling fucking terrified. I was like, I am afraid of dying continuously throughout the whole day, of fear of death. I feel I'm going to go over a cliff into oblivion all the time. So I came back here, and Pernilla's thing was on at 5 p.m. for me, I think. I sat down here at 4:30 thinking, I'm going to sit with this now and feel into this and feel what this is. And for a half an hour, all my feelings went away, of course. Couldn't feel anything. And I was listening to her thing, and the feeling went away. And so yeah, I'm thinking I want to explore some of those. Just a feeling of dread, fear deep down. I think I'd like to think that that's one of the deepest things I have that I'd like to. And then there's alongside that is a really intense belief that says there is no way you can resolve this. This is actual death you're afraid of. There's no solution for that. This will never be fixed, and you will never make progress, blah, blah, blah. So that's the long answer to how I'm doing right now. And as I say, I feel embarrassed for loading that because I feel like I'm too much recently. I'm the kind of person who talks about myself, as you can tell. But recently I'm going, oh my God, it's a heavy trip going on over here, and I'm ashamed even to be saying how heavy of a trip it is. But anyway.
You don't need to be ashamed. Yeah, you're fucked, aren't you? You're well and truly fucked. There's no chance for you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I probably don't need to say this, but I'll say it anyway. You email me anytime you want, anytime at all.
Thank you.
No worries. Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
For what it's worth. Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. In my mind, there's no doubt that it's the fear of annihilation is the big thing that's underneath, whatever that means. How come you're not already dead? How come you haven't committed suicide? You haven't been run over by a train or a bus? How come you're still here?
Oh, yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, I very seldom consider suicide, really. I mean, I've often, a few times during my life, I've thought to myself, I wonder if I'd be better off not being here because it's too bloody difficult to be here. But I never really took that seriously. I don't know why I'm not. I am. There is a little piece of that, and that's not exactly the same thing you're asking, but one of those fears that I find from exploration, actually in a previous MDMA exploration I did a few months ago. So I'm not, I can't be 100% certain that it's real, I suppose, but it feels real. There's a feeling of probably like my dad's anger or rage when I was really, really young, like 1 or 1.5 or something, that there's a feeling here that I almost died because he was so angry or something. I may be made up, but it just feels like that. And there's almost a feeling like I might not be here because he was so flippin' angry. I could have died from his rage or something. And there's almost a bit of anger around that going, I matter so little, whoever I am in this context, I matter so little that I could just not be here. I could have just died and my mother wasn't there to help or anything. And I'm just like, so there's this funny feeling of precariousness in this feeling of like, I'm here, but I might just as easily not be here.
Yeah,
and
sure.
The universe cares not one bit whether I'm here or not. But presumably the universe doesn't care about any of us. But yeah.
It's interesting. A lot of the things that people carry in their trauma are the same things that we carry when we wake up, but they have an entirely different meaning, So
yeah.
So for you, it's not mattering, not mattering is a bit terrifying. For me, not mattering is freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in my head, not mattering seems perfectly fine. There always seems to be this split between this somewhat rational or whatever bit of me that's talking, and then the feelings and beliefs and so on seem to be quite separate, not integrated. And so in my head, I was an atheist for most of my life. Now, like, since I've been looking into non-duality for the last 4 years or more, I'm like suddenly became afraid of death in the last couple of years. Before that, I was like, it's fine, don't worry, But I don't know.
So are you?
And I do wonder if I can do one of my questions. Actually, one of the things that David said to me last week was something about missing the first step. I was I wonder this. I have this kind of general question of like, can I wake up? The mind awakening thing, or the first fetter or the first couple of fetters, I guess. Can I do that? Or do I have to do all this emotional stuff first? Or I do have someone else told me you need to calm down my nervous system first because I can't. One of your country people, Shar, Shar.
Yeah.
And I talked to her a few months ago, and she was like, you need to do calming down your nervous system first, and you need to do blah, 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 or else you won't be able to get the awakening thing at all. But I've been doing TRE for 4 months, and I've been doing a bunch of things. I don't know if those things are helping. So part of me, so like, just because what you said, it looks totally different from your side of the gate or whatever. I'm going, could I just get to that side of the gate and see it from there, and then I'll continue on doing the emotional stuff after that? Because it looks kind of crappy from over here, and I'm assuming it would look different from a different perspective. But
I can see Helen wants to tell you something.
Okay.
She's nodding as you talk.
No, it just all sounds very familiar. I've been through that. In fact, I really contemplated suicide. I really did. No, I'm just agreeing and empathizing with what's going through, really, because it is shit. It's awful, and you just don't know which way to turn. But it'll settle. Yeah, never say never. It'll
Yeah.
settle.
Thank you.
So one thing to consider is that you've got a lifetime of conditioning to be the way you are. So a lot of it's habitual. You know, it just comes up because it's always come up. You know, you've got the pathways in the brain, if you like, that create these, that take you down this particular way of being. So one part of me says, no, you can wake up and still be totally fucked in the head. That's okay. You can do that. But you won't stay that way in your mind after you wake up, you know, like, so you know, you don't have to fix all those other things before you can wake up, because waking up, it's wrong to say it, but waking up will fix a lot of these other things simply because you'll see how unnecessary they are.
Yep.
But when I say that, I mean you will actually see, you will realize, you will recognize how they're not. Whereas at the moment you can't do that because they're so big, you know, they're so insistent on getting your attention. Calming the nervous system down. Yeah, that's an interesting one. What you've got to work with is everything as it is. And when I say work with, I don't mean do work. I just mean that's the I don't know what you call it. That's the stuff that you are. That's the stuff that you. But you know, it's all a solution. All of the everything, all of the especially the bad shit, but everything that happens is a solution to something. You know, and so in a way, it's not bad to have this stuff. It's good to have this stuff, and the worse it is, the better it is, because you've got something better to work with. If somebody's only got a little bit going on, it's kind of hard to find something to work with. So when you've got so much going on, that's good. You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you know, that's just, it's hard to talk, isn't it? You know, as soon as I start talking, I feel like I'm the forward in somebody else's book. Underneath all this shit that you've got going on, and that's just a funny way to put it, but underneath all this shit, you're okay. You know, there's no problem. You're still here. You're still relatively healthy. You're still upright.
Yeah.
Still do things, you know. So it's worked. All this shit has worked for you. You know,
Yeah.
if you didn't have a lot of that, maybe you wouldn't be here anymore. So it's not the enemy. It's not your friend either, but it's not something to fight. It's just what's there. And because that's what's there for you, that's where I've got to find a better word than work. That's where the work is. The work that you're not going to work at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to say, you know, you're talking about all this confusion and really not knowing what's going on, what to do next, no planning. That's really part of the process of your awakening. When it's like the system that thinks that there's control starts to see that there isn't, and then it's sort of terrifying, because letting go, surrendering is like something that wants to keep control and orderliness and have things the way we want them to be and we imagine them to be. It is terrifying, and yet at the same time there's this sort of natural falling apart of into this unknown. And so it seems like for me that you're actually it's painful because there's the struggle against it, but you're in a really good place and you're in a very transformative place. And
Yeah.
you know, it's just sort of riding with it. And you were talking about you know, your nervous system, and I've had you know, really reactive sort of highly overstressed nervous system myself. And one of the most wonderful I think when I came across Thich Nhat Hanh's little meditation of 20 minutes on the breath, and it's just your breathing, and it's just going in, out, deep, slow, calm, ease, and then smile and release, and just go on and breathing through when you have like a fear attack, or that gets, which is just sensation with a label called fear, but it's intense sensation. Just to help be more present to the sensation is through the breath, because that's the connection between mind and body. But hang in there, because shit's happening, you know, as part of the process. That's what I feel.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I must do that, because actually somebody, my TRE person has been telling me I should do more breathing stuff, and I've been looking at a breathing person, as it were. And I think I've heard of that meditation, so I must look that up and do some more of that. But yeah, thanks.
So
I mean, of course, one of my voices tells me, like, if I lose interest in material things and, you know, reading books and so on, I think, oh, how spiritual, you know, I no longer want to understand, and I no longer want to, you know, but another part of me goes, no, I'm just fucking depressed. I'm not interested in anything. So the same, like, when I think there's confusion, I go, oh, it means that's all my stuff is unraveling. It's an awakening happening. And the other part of me goes, no, I'm just crazy. It's just I'm just falling apart in a regular way.
yeah.
And it's all just thinking, just thoughts, thought content, that none of it which has to be believed, but everything's pointing to the sensations in the body.
Yeah.
It's a great technique to get out of the mind. If the mind starts to give you grief because of the activity there, the quickest way out of that is to focus on the body, to do that breathing meditation, or just look for sensations. Just get into the body, what is going on in the body. That'll take you out of the mind almost instantly. But your mind's a bit tricky. You might have ways around that, but it's worth a try.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. I have been trying for the last few months, really trying to get down into my body as best I can. I've been trying for years. I mean, I don't know what even getting into my body means, but I've been trying. And so I make some progress at times, yeah. But it does get blocked as well. I don't know how other people, I wonder, you know, if none of us presumably knows what the content of another person's head is like, what the, you know, the living experience in another person's brain is like. Well, we always assume, I suppose, that it's fairly similar in other people's heads. But I do wonder, I mean, sorry. The amount of resistance there is to feeling my feelings, or feeling what's in my body, or the kind of, I can feel myself being dragged back up into my head almost physically, and or feeling, I mean, was it last week, the week before, you and Jenny were helping me with feeling my sensations, and I can just about feel sensations, like I know I have arms and legs kind of thing, you know, and it felt okay. But like a lot of other people who you help with this, you know, really seem to go down and they were crying and they're really feeling things, and I'm just feeling just basic sensations, and I go, yeah, I have arms and legs, that's as far as I get. And so I can feel that, kind of, even without explicit thoughts, I can feel myself being pulled away from, distracted from, in a funny way, the proper feeling, or finding out what it's about or something.
Okay, so we can get techniques to get around that kind of stuff. But you've got to, they can be a trap in themselves. So you've got to realize that we're not trying to fix anything. It's not a end result that we're after, but rather just a way of changing direction, if you can grasp that one. So if you were to knock yourself on the head with your knuckles, do it a bit hard, a little bit harder, just in one spot. Now stop.
Okay. Yeah.
Just stop. And can you feel a sensation in your forehead where you hit it?
Yeah.
And it lingers for a little while and then fades away?
Yeah.
Okay, great. You've done it. That's it. You're out of your head and into your body there for a moment.
Okay.
It's simple, isn't it? Yeah, but we make it complicated all the time. We make it way too complicated. You can, and a much more subtle one is feel your bum on the chair. Now, when you start looking at that, that gets a bit tricky because there's not like the tap on the forehead. There's not a specific point, you know. And a good question to ask is, where does your bum end and the chair start? And again, you won't be able to locate a precise position for that. There's just a general feeling kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But while you're doing that, you're not thinking. What you're doing is you're focusing on sensations.
That's true. Yeah. But my next thought, right? My next thought is, okay, what am I doing this for? Am I understanding something? Am I clearing something,
Okay,
healing
and that's
something?
just
What am I doing?
that's you
Am I
just
just
running
paying
at
attention to a
1,000 miles an
sensation
hour to
in the
escape
afternoon?
what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, it feels it has to be for something. I'm just feeling a sensation for, you know, some number of minutes. I mean, I feel like it's a justifiable question going, what am I doing this for? Am I understanding something? Am I clearing something? Am I working with
There are
something?
no justifiable questions. Every single question is an escape.
Okay. Oh my God,
John,
it's terrible. No, please, that can't be true.
John, is there something, I don't know, like your first cup of coffee or a piece of chocolate or some sensory thing that is just very compelling to you, that you sort of sit and maybe the first cup of coffee and you sit and like, you know, and you just enjoy it. Is there something like that you get like?
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, I could find. Yeah, I could
Like
have.
is something that comes to mind, or even the first glass of wine in the evening or something like that. So is there a point to that? Or is it just a pure these things that, or for no reason, it's like, oh, it feels so much pleasure, and what might be pleasing to one person, not necessarily pleasing to another, but it's like just a moment of and there's actually no point when you look at it. There's no point to it at all, other than it's a sensory experience, and the butt on the chair is really the same. It's the same approach. There's no point. It's just a sensory experience, which with the curiosity to give a little bit of time, and then to realize, as Vince said, all of a sudden, wow, my mind is quiet. This is interesting. Maybe I'll try my hand on my thigh. There's no point. And yet it's this sensory experience that takes you out of yourself. So I don't know if that's helpful, but it's like that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, yeah, I mean, I suppose it just feels like addiction. I went to my mate's house yesterday. I think he might have been getting me a beer in the kitchen or something. And I was sitting there thinking, I had the fleeting thought. I thought, what if I don't talk about myself this evening? And I was like, my mind cleared, and I was like, oh, maybe I would have no problems if I didn't talk about them. There's the solution. And I felt fairly calm for a few minutes, and then I thought, oh no, maybe I will talk about myself. But I was thinking that would be bloody hell. That's like I really have to go to a 12-step program for that. You know, going, no, I'm not going to talk about myself anymore.
Yeah.
And
So Don, stop for a minute. You said when you first decided that you would not talk about yourself, that you felt really calm for a moment.
yeah,
Those moments are absolute gems. Those moments are what you need to grab hold and feel. They might only be short moments, but they'll lead to something else. And we so easily gloss over them, we'd almost forget about it within within a few hours afterwards it'll even happen because we don't pay any attention to it. We don't file it away. So it's worth, when you experience those moments, you grab hold of them. And it is interesting, you know, we all of our suffering we create with our mind. Every single bit of it we create with our mind.
That's interesting. Yeah, thanks.
Hi.
Vince, a moment ago when you had. Go
Hi.
ahead, Helen.
Hi. Sorry, can I just jump in? When I was going through what you sound similar, you know, my experience, it was just, I had panic attacks, terrible panic attacks, rushing to the doctors every 5 minutes for anything that would calm me down, and, you know, nervous system, blah, blah. But if somebody had told me then that just those moments that Vince has just spoken about mean so much, not mean so much, but, you know, something that you can hold to, it sort of shows you how much your mind is racing. And if somebody had said to me, it's all in, when I was sat in the A&E with panic attacks, it's just your mind, I just wouldn't have believed it. I'd said, no, and this and this and this and this and this. But when I was told all we've got is senses, your 5 senses, just to touch and to feel, and it does take you out of your mind in terms of pick up a book, how heavy is it? You get back to your senses. For me, that was a huge lesson. And I think as soon as this stuff starts to kick in, your mind starts to go crazy. And if you can feel it's almost habitual. It does feel like, you know, like anything that gives you juice, it feels like the mind's doing. I don't know, I can't put into words again, but I just hope that it settles down for you, and cling to them little moments.
Yeah, thank you. I
Then
appreciate
little moments of calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a beautiful backdrop there. Is it rug or curtains? Just feel the curtains and feel that you're alive and you're relatively well in that moment. I know, and it's a big ask because your mind is taking up so much of your attention. It's a big ask. But yeah.
Thank you very
I
much.
wish
I don't
you
want
well.
to. Thank you so much. You're very good. I do actually get some of those. I think I may have said that before. I do get some of those moments. I mean, they can be. I mean, as I say, the last few weeks has been a bit difficult, but there's been a good lot of, I don't know what I'd say, presence or something. You know, when I was at Angelo's retreat, it was a bit chaotic, but I still felt like the week afterwards, in particular, I was like, I can really notice the presence. I was sitting out. We had a cabin in the mountains. We were looking out over a big valley, and I was sitting there partly feeling miserable, but also going, oh my gosh, it's just peace. Like, this is just peace, including me, or there's no me. It's just this presence here. And I could really feel like I was experiencing that. And yet at the same time, all these thoughts are in there going, blah, 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 something, you have to worry about this problem. It's very important. Yeah. And so part of me is going, do I just sit here waiting for those to calm down, or do I have to look at them bit by bit and try to figure out why I believe that they're about me or something? That's my question. I'm just sitting in the peace. If that's all there is to it, I'll go, I can just sit there maybe and wait. Then as I say, the other thought comes and says, you know, you need to look at your relationship with thoughts and figure out why you believe they're about you. So then my mind has started again going, I need to figure out something about my thoughts.
Well, don't believe a single thought that you have. Not one. There's not a single thought that's worth spending any time or cogitating on. Not one.
Okay. Thanks.
Yet. I mean, that'll come, but yeah, at this stage, no, nothing.
Thanks. Cool. Anyway, so yeah, even I who talk about myself a lot, I feel like I've talked a lot now. So maybe someone else has a fun story.
You're a selfish bastard, aren't you? You never.
I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I should get a T-shirt.
Yeah.
There's 2 things that have come up in this discussion that have just I found so funny, and I'll share them. One is Helen, what you were just saying. I think we all heard the term or the idiom "come to your senses." This gives a whole new meaning to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And Vince, what you were doing earlier with Don, having him knock on his head, the phrase "pinch me, I'm dreaming" also has like a a whole different
Yeah.
meaning, like literally.
Yeah.
Pinch me so that I feel something and get out of my head. I'm dreaming.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird that we use the word sense to refer to the mind. When it's exactly the opposite. Yet it's become part of our language. Yeah. Come to your senses. Obviously doesn't mean think straight. But yeah, that's the way we take it. Yeah. Good stuff. You kind of got in a little late, Paul, to hear some of what was going on, but it kind of relates to stuff that you have going on too. How are you traveling these days?
I'm not too bad today, thank you. Sorry, I'm a little bit late entering.
No, you don't have to be sorry about it. No, you just
Yeah.
yeah. Have you still got a chaotic mind?
Oh, very
Rule the
much so,
roost?
very much so.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in my life at the moment.
So when you say there's so much going on, that sounds like you're talking about what's external to you.
Yes, it is. It's all these external events that influence me.
Yes, but that external stuff has a big influence on what goes on internally, right?
It does, yes.
Yeah. So before you got here, we were talking with Helen about she made the realization that other people are not responsible for what she feels. And then we had to stretch it a little to say, well, she's not responsible either. But you're still feeling like other people are responsible for what you feel, eh?
I hear what you're saying. And I agree that other people aren't responsible for the way I feel. It's more like my reaction to them. But I can't seem to sort of control that reaction. It's like an autonomous reaction, a negative reaction.
Yep. Okay. And so do you put the interpretation on that you are doing it to yourself, therefore you are responsible?
Yes, I do. I do take full responsibility for it. Yes.
Right. So if I tell you, and of course this comes back to the old story about having control, but if I say to you, things just happen and you've got no control, therefore you're not responsible either. That doesn't make any sense. There's that word. It doesn't make any sense to you.
Yeah. There is that sense of lack of control. There's how can I explain this? There's a little minor issue going on at the moment online, with Facebook and all that nonsense, where I've been being attacked, shall we say, verbally attacked. Now here I have two options. I can fight back and reply, or I can ignore it. But either way, it's going to antagonize the situation. So it's like a catch-22. I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So in that issue, I cannot control the outcome of this situation, no matter what I do, whether I reply to it or if I don't reply to it. Either way, I'm damned.
Yep. Yeah. So that stuff that happens, that people are saying, whatever, you have no control over that, do you? That's pretty easy.
No, I don't. That's right.
You don't have any control over what they say or what they do.
Yeah.
Just like you don't have any control over whether the sun comes up or whether the wind blows. But you don't feel bad about the sun coming up or the wind blowing, do you? You
No,
know,
not at all.
right? But you do about what they're saying.
Obviously, although I try not, obviously, you take it personally.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Taking it personally is a big thing. Yeah. I mean, there's an old one that says something, I don't know who, Krishnamurti or somebody said something like, if somebody offers you a gift, you're not compelled to take it. Society might have you as being rude if you refuse it, but you're not compelled to accept the gift if you don't want it or if it's not appropriate. And in the same way, you're not compelled to accept what they say really is about you. One of the things that has been pretty big for me in this on this journey is realizing or recognizing that I'll start with me, that I interpret whatever I interact with. I interpret it according to my history, the way I am, whatever. It's part of my nature to interpret things in a certain way. But it's my interpretation of them. And then I can immediately see how they do the same thing. Their idea of me is their interpretation. So another old saying just came up to mind, and that is, other people's opinion of me is none of my business. It's them. They're really talking about themselves, no matter what. And when I'm talking about other people, I'm talking about myself. That's equally true. But that's just information. That's not going to change anything unless you can actually really see what that means. That's not right either, but yeah. Yeah. So what when shit happens, our instinctive response is to try and fix it or to avoid it.
Yes. Yes.
And if we decide that we're going to do something different, that's an illusion. When we can't do anything but what we do. So to decide that I'll behave differently towards this time than I did last time, if the idea comes up, it may happen, but it's not that we really have any control over it. And it's wrong to say that, that we have control of anything. But these discussions that we have here, this stuff that we talk about, when we consider a different way of doing something, it kind of makes the possibility or even the probability of it happening a bit more real. Right? So it's still not that we're making a decision or having a choice or control over anything, but an option, an alternative option might just appear. And that alternative option might say, well, I can't control what's going on in their mind, so I won't bother with it. I'll let it go. I won't, Why do you even read what they write?
Sometimes it's difficult to avoid it. It'll pop up on your news feeds. So and so posted this, that, and the other.
Right, but you've got the option to just scroll past it.
I do tend to do that, and I sort of lie to myself that I'll forget about it. I won't think about it. But obviously, it's eating away the back of your mind somewhere. What shall I do? How shall I defend myself? I'm under attack.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can't yet see that whatever they're saying, whatever is behind what they're saying, the feelings that they've got that make them want to go down that road, it is all about them. It's not about you at all. They're
That's
just
right. Another, yeah, I can remember what's that saying? Sort of a person's opinion of me is a more reflection of them than of me, of their state of mind.
yeah. So you've got that intellectually, but it doesn't kind of sink in.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Paul,
Yes.
how for a moment, how does it feel in your body when you think about the situation and you think about what people are saying and feeling under attack? Can
It's
you
like
can you bring yourself and find contraction inside your body?
no, definitely. It's that knot in the stomach, the constant tension in the stomach.
So can I invite you just to bring your attention down and maybe put your hands over your stomach and just sit with those sensations in the stomach, which are needing to be recognized, because in a way, this whole situation is pointing to a long-term fear of feeling under attack or whatever other beliefs attached to it. And so it's an invitation to go inside and feel those really powerful sensations, which are in a way producing the belief that you're going to be under attack. So if you can go there and sit with that for a little while and just breathe. And what are you noticing?
There's that horrible tension that seems to restrict the breathing.
So stay with that. And if you can, with your breath, on the in-breath, see if you can get closer into the sensation. So that you're sort of almost becoming the sensation, if that makes sense. That it's not external, but it is you absorbing yourself into it. And just keep breathing. Has there been any change, any movement, shifting in?
I've noticed that although the main tension is in the abdomen, that knot, I'm holding tension in my arms and my shoulders and my legs. And then gradually sort of loosening that.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even notice that tension in the rest of my body, just the knot in the stomach was the main focus.
Yeah. So it's just allowing it all to be there. Is there different movements, different sensations coming up, or is it still this very strong feeling of?
There's a certain relaxation in the stomach. That's definitely eased off a lot. And the tension in the rest of the body dissipated.
So that's like a holding pattern within you, which was begging to be seen and worked with. And in a way is, I mean, I sort of, that as much as the mind is creating the stories, the body is generating mind stuff too, because the mind is the pointer into the body. As soon as we believe something about ourselves, or we have, anything that we are identifying with, there's always a signal in the body. And so when it's a really stressful thought, like I am under attack, that's a body defense system in real time. And to be with that, you can even, if you like, you can work with it, just sort of sitting quietly and just saying, I'm under attack, and just then it's okay, body, you can do your thing, and I'm here as the parent to be with you, to allow those feelings to be felt. And that's a way to perhaps calm your own stress with the situation of being damned if you do or damned if you don't, because little by little the stress levels and the contraction in the body will point you in one way about, maybe it won't have such a magnitude for you.
I suppose it's a matter of being aware of the reactions. It's like the fight or flight response. The body tenses up.
Totally. Yeah.
And did you notice, Paul, the big thing that happened was that as you focused on what the body was experiencing, that it changed, it dissipated.
Yeah.
And so not only was the mind quiet for the relatively quiet for the time that you were focusing on the knot in the stomach, and then when you realized that you also had tension in the arms, but it was the seeing of that that allowed it to dissipate, allowed it to change. So you achieved several things in that one little thing that you just did. And there's a little bit of a trap about that then becoming a technique so that you can bypass what's going on. But don't worry about that at this stage. It's just a great way to get into what and to break the cycle of what was going on for you. So I would say the exercise for you over the next week would be to have those moments where you can identify a feeling in the body and just focus on it, and then allow the mind to just see if there's any other sensations that are in other parts of the body that are associated, and just watch what happens as you focus on them. And remind yourself, it's their shit. It's got nothing to do with you.
That's true. Yes, very much so. It's their state of mind, not mine.
Yeah. How are you traveling, Beth? You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yes, good. Hi. Yeah, I was just thinking after Paul made that comment talking about other people. In some relations with other people, I find it very difficult to know how to respond, whether I need to, what to say about the situation. It's just something that I'm sort of dealing with at the moment with one person.
So the idea of how to respond means that you're...
Yeah, whether I need to, what do I need to say? Do I need to say something? Do I not? I find that with this one particular person, I find it's very difficult. At the moment, I'm just leaving it, not responding, which is okay.
So when you think, how could I or should I respond, you're immediately off into storyland about the consequences of what will happen from your response. And
yeah, I don't really. It's not something I can solve. I've come to the conclusion. But generally, I'm okay. I'm having some guiding sessions with Luciana on the what's it called? Unlimited. What's it called? The
Liberation Unleashed.
Liberation Unleashed. Yeah. So that's quite useful.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah.
And I'm finding, I think there's sort of a loosening of that addiction to thinking a little bit, because I'm a bit like Don, I'm very, very up in my head. So I feel like I'm sort of a bit more sort of disconnecting from that as my main source of what's real. Not sure about me.
One of the things that I feel that we are looking at here is authenticity. So instead of asking the question in your mind, and I know you don't actually do it like this, but instead of asking the question, how should I respond, or what's an appropriate response? What if you ask the question, what is actually happening for me? What is the response that comes up? Not whether it's right or wrong, appropriate or not, just what is the actual response that comes up? And sometimes it's not appropriate to express that response because of the possible consequences from it. But at least you acknowledge it to yourself. And sometimes it is appropriate to express.
I think I know. Yeah, I think I know what that is. I think there's a lot of wishing that would be a different way. Somebody's different to what they actually are, and coming to terms with that.
Yeah.
It's gone on so long, and I've sort of, yeah. And last night I had this quite strong sense, or I don't know if it was a memory or sense, or that when I was when I was a child, I think I concluded that I just couldn't really bear being. The thought of being myself for the rest of my life, which did lead to a lot of depression, and it was. I don't feel depressed anymore, but it did, and I never sort of I didn't want to be here. I didn't attempt suicide at all, but I just thought, well, what's the everything feels awful, and I guess that was due to a lot of repressed or not being connected with how I'm feeling, and repression, feelings of feelings of repression.
I don't know. I mean, we learn from our environment, and that usually includes our parents or peer groups or whatever. And if you felt hopeless as a child, then that says something about the environment that you were in. Nobody feels hopeless spontaneously. They're taught that.
Yeah. I get a bit confused about this relationship business with others, because sometimes I hear, oh, it's what you feel, and you don't know what someone else is feeling, and all that business. But then other times I hear that they are you. There is no other. They are you. And I just get really confused.
Yeah, sure. It is confusing, isn't it? Right. Yeah. Forget about that one for the moment. That's above your pay grade at this stage. That you and the others are not separate. That's
thanks.
You'll get to that, but not at the moment. No way. Yeah.
I know that's my thinking, because that's what I tend to do. I like to intellectualize it, and I'm stimulated by the intellectual understanding.
Yeah, sure.
But I think I've realized that that's not actually, like you say, I'm not that sort of level. That's what I'm not at that pay grade yet. But I think that's okay, actually. It's all right. That's okay.
Beth,
Not
actually, okay. Go on.
I'm not using it to beat myself up and feel crap, which have had a strong tendency to do.
Okay, before you said you're addicted to thinking, right? You said that before. Okay, but I think it would be useful to reframe that, because you can't be addicted to something that you can control, that is a part of you. Actually, maybe the problem is that you're identified with thinking. That's a whole another story, because, for example, you can't be addicted to peeing. It's a normal bodily function. So you can't be addicted to thinking, because it's a normal body function.
Yeah.
but you're identifying with it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one who thinks I like to be this conceptual thing to understanding. There's identification. So try to
Yeah.
begin to reframe this. If you begin to think, no, I am not my thoughts, I'm just identifying with the one that is addicted to thoughts, then this whole thing about this fixation with thinking will fall away, because you won't stop thinking in the way. Maybe
No.
they will less because you have less doubts, you will have less things to think about, but they will never stop. You keep on having opinions on things, you keep labeling. You just have to detach from it, to not identify with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Yes. That seems to be a bit easier this week. Yeah. Because I can have the thoughts. I can have the thought there and I have the thought there. They're all so different. They can be
Okay, try reframing that
different.
off.
Yeah, it's
I
okay.
have, instead of saying, for example, I have thoughts, I have this, try to reframe that. Try to speak. Oh, I see thoughts. I've been witnessing thoughts. Try to create a space between the thoughts and you. That's actually what happened to me when I began this whole journey. I noticed that I was just witnessing thoughts. I wasn't having any thoughts. So try to work with language. Language plays a big role in this whole awakening process. Try to reframe the way you refer to thoughts and your actions. Then slowly comprehension will dawn on
Yeah.
you, so to speak.
Yep.
Like,
So you can
Yes.
say thoughts happen or thoughts arise.
Yeah. Yeah. I did have
and
this.
not the ownership, not my thoughts.
Yes, I did that this week with one thought. And I just said, oh, hi. Oh, thanks for thanks for checking in. Thanks for letting me know what you think. Yeah.
sure, you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, that was good to come to this group. Thanks for doing it, Vince.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing.
I mean,
Yeah, others will get value from what you say, regardless. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I've given up. Oh, thanks. I'm not. There's not a lot of thoughts. Well, when I have a thought about, oh, when will I be enlightened, and is this all any good, and is it all going to work? I can leave them alone. Leave those thoughts alone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can probably extend that to leave all thoughts alone, except the odd useful one.
Yeah, I'll try.
Yeah. The one that says you
yeah.
need to buy milk or don't walk in front of the bus, they're useful. They're mundane,
Yeah.
but they're useful. But all the rest, just leave them alone. Yeah. I mean, they still happen. Thoughts don't stop. Some people experience a silence from their thoughts, but they just go on in the background. I don't even know what my thoughts say half the time. They're just there. I don't pay any attention to them because they're full of shit.
How do you know they're there if you don't know what they
I
are?
can remember. If I look to see were they there, I can kind of get a feeling of them, like a river running over the other side of the road, kind of thing. So yeah, a lot of it is a logical conclusion though, because I couldn't tell you what they're about. So maybe they're not there. It's like my tinnitus. I'm only aware of having tinnitus if I think about it. If I don't think about it, it's not there. But when I do think about it, it's always there. So I jump to the conclusion it's there even when I'm not realizing it's there.
Okay.
But that's
I
a
was
lot
going to
different
mention that.
conclusion.
I was going to mention that because I have that, and I've been observing when I notice it. Like I can hear it now. I can always hear it when there's no other sounds. It tends to be there. But there are times when I don't notice. I can hear it now. Well, does it exist, or is it? I don't know what is it?
Well, we even we even think it's happening in the ears, but it's not. It's happening in the brain.
Okay.
What our senses tell us.
Why is it?
not
Why is
true.
it happening in the brain? What's the reason for it to occur in the brain?
Oh, I mean, I don't know that there's any actual proper answer to that. I've been told that mine is a result of industrial deafness from being around things that are too loud, but I don't know if that's the case. And if you read about tinnitus, it's rather interesting, but then you also get all these really weird things that come up about fixing it, which are basically scams, I think, most of them.
I don't do anything about trying to get rid of it.
No,
it's okay.
It's not a big deal. It's just there, Yeah.
I have had thoughts about it, like, oh, I wish it wasn't there because I'd like to. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird thing to say. I'd like to hear silence better. I'd like it not to be there, but I mean, they're only thoughts, aren't they?
And there's another reality. If you start to appreciate sensations, and that's all input to any of the senses, there is no such thing as silence. Absolute silence doesn't exist. There's always a sound. There's always noise.
I think there are noisier places and quieter places.
Oh,
and
sure.
places
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But I'm talking about absolute silence, absolute zero sound doesn't exist. Not in my experience. Maybe it does, but I've never experienced it. Because when you get really, really quiet, if you get quiet enough, you'll even hear your own heartbeat.
Yeah.
Right now, I can hear the sound like wind out there behind me. No, it's the fan in the car. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we don't notice a lot of those sounds normally, but when we get quiet and we start to listen, it's amazing what we hear that we've never taken any notice of. And it's interesting to consider thoughts like a noise, so I used to use a lot the analogy of the sound of the refrigerator. The sound of the refrigerator, it's there a lot of the time, but we pay no attention to it whatsoever. And that's a great analogy for your thoughts. They're there, but just let's not pay any attention to it. We've got other things going on.
What is attention, would you say? What is attention?
Well, it's not a thing, is it? It's like awareness.
No.
It's not a thing either. We can be aware. That's a way of describing something. We can pay attention. Why don't we say be attention? That's probably more accurate than pay attention.
Be attention, yeah, be attention.
But they're verbs, they're not nouns.
Yeah. That's all I've got to say, really. Thank you. It's been nice to chat.
There is something else to be said about the quiet and also the lack of visual stimuli. That if our brain doesn't get anything, it just makes up things. So you've got hallucinations, visual and auditory as well. So it's got to have something to process. If it doesn't have anything, it just creates something to work on it. And it's the same with thoughts, isn't it? I can't quote any research. I can look for it, but I'm sure I've got it somewhere to quote it. But you know that when you think about it, it is quite clear that it's like that. If there is silence or darkness, you just get pictures, get sounds of some sort. And this is the same thing with our silence in our let's say in our thought area, if there is anything like that. There is something bubbling up and then going away, rising from nowhere without any reason. If you don't chase it, it just goes away. So this tinnitus, maybe it doesn't have to, because it's actually a very complicated issue, that tinnitus. You know that, obviously. I sometimes deal with, because I'm working in a medical field, so I am touching the tinnitus issue with my patients, and it's very what's that word in English? I don't remember, but it's got a lot of reasons to come up. It may be related to the tissue, to the body, or to the way the mind interprets the another English word slipping out. So it may be something subjective or something objective. It may be an interpretation issue or a stimuli issue as well. So it's got many reasons to arise. We don't know how to deal with that completely. But it may be a hallucination. Well, what isn't? After all.
Yeah.
While Seb was talking, suddenly I have this amazing insight. Vince, I would like to hear your thoughts about that, because actually, suddenly, I kind of understood why sometimes people say that consciousness is infinite, because when you're sleeping, then you're awake. It's so hard to explain that. Suddenly, I kind of figure out that the perception of reality, she is kind of inside something, but this is not the word. Like, I know, because the nothingness is actually something bigger, and this reality is kind of something inside. Is not even the word, but the moment that reality manifests, it's kind of being confined into some specific defined point, when there's no, like, the ambient, everything is just spaciousness, and it is the moment, even when you're out in the outdoor, you're seeing that things are being defined and confined. So actually, this is why consciousness is infinite. You know, suddenly there's this shift of perspective. Can you get what I'm kind of trying to tell you?
Yeah.
It's like the inside and the outside, they kind of have changed places, you know, like as the darkness, the blankness of nothingness now is what composes, it's what holds everything that I experience. Or do I might sound delusional? I don't know.
Oh, I get what you're saying. I don't know what to say about it though. Yeah. So very definitely the labels that we put on things, the interpretation that we respond to is very much a confining, limiting kind of thing. And so the idea that we stop doing that, we no longer confine things, means that there is no beginning and no end to it, whatever. But even using the concept of everywhere or unlimited is a limitation. It's not right. Yeah. Yeah. So I would hesitate, and I wouldn't use terminology that says consciousness is unlimited, because that kind of makes it sound like you're talking about a thing again. And we get a bit close to the world of magic, I suppose, and cities when we start thinking in terms of being omnipresent. We start taking on the attributes we've given to God, which is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, it sounds like religion already, doesn't it?
Yeah. It gets into that. And then we go, well, we don't have to explain it. We'll just take it on faith. Yeah.
Well, I think what Matthew says is very interesting. I will express this in a way that a little bit differently. Like, for example, experience is it's agitated consciousness. It's like a movement in consciousness, and consciousness it's experience at rest. So it's not that there is two things, like you say. It's just like you, what I am. When it's very still, I cannot perceive it somehow, and at the same time, I can only perceive the movement of myself. So I think a very good way to talk about duality. It's, for me, it was a very big change to talk like experience. It's a whole. It's an indivisible, all encompassing whole that is appearing to me, and that's it. And inside there is duality, there is whatever you want to say, but because this is the two main things that to me are facts, that I am present and there is an experience. And there are two words to express one thing, just like what you say, right? There is no opposite. And the opposite are experience. So I think this is a good frame, like a good way to think about it. Even if thinking is not the best, but there is some useful to it. And about that, I would say that last week, like this last week, I was watching a lot this sense of being distracted or having the choice of being distracted. You know that sometimes I'm very calm, and I'm, oh, I want to watch a movie, you know, and there's the impulse, you know, to do something. And I was really watching it, and at some point, I realized I'm never distracted. I mean, this whole story of distraction, even if, of course, I understand what I say it and everything, of course, but in a way, I am never distracted, because if I see that I'm distracted, I'm not, and when I am, I'm not aware of it, so I'm not really distracted, you know. So I think this was very helpful, the last meeting about this, that and somehow now I'm very more relaxed when thing happens. So that's very interesting.
Good stuff. Yeah.
The funny bit about all these our meetings here is that ultimately we are trying to figure out something, to put it into some kind of a drawer, mental drawer. So we are trying to do some mental activities on something that is not mental. I'm not sure if you know what I mean, but we are trying to, even though we are not talking about something that is possible, well, we are talking about something that is impossible to talk about, still we are constantly trying to make into something. This is actually quite interesting. There's no other way to communicate apart from trying to, well, make it into something. Whatever we come up with, it is not going to do.
It's a paradox.
There's no way.
Yep. Using the mind to realize that the mind is what it is.
Yeah. We don't have any other tools.
Oh. And we get there. It works.
Yeah.
The guy, Frank Yang, he says that actually we are a form trying to get into emptiness, but actually emptiness is trying to get into form. So this is why even though we are trying to get out of this, we are still trying to conceptualize it in a certain way.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea about this consciousness or awareness business. And I wonder, what do you think about it? Well, to be exact, it doesn't matter what we think about it, but there are people Rupert Spira pops up into my head instantly, that are absolutely sure that there is some kind of consciousness that is everything, everywhere, etc., and we are not, or we are it, whatever is the take on it. I don't remember what is his take on it. It's also from a level of experience that we are expressing here through our minds, obviously, and our bodies, our throats and mouth, and our phones and computers. It's not possible to know it, obviously, and yet we are constantly trying to talk about it and constantly trying to figure it out. That is unbelievable. And so funny.
Yeah. And it's one of those unanswerable questions. So really, it's obviously a distraction.
Yeah. It's totally pointless. And yet so entertaining. Ultimately entertaining, I would say.
Part of the seduction of thoughts is to say, oh, it's really important. You know, we've got to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's a lot of what I've really been aware of for a while now is there is so much stuff going on that is not worth any attention. It's not worth engaging with. And yet people can spend their whole life fully engaged with it. It's just a total waste of time.
I think you said earlier to try not to do anything, right? It's impossible for us, isn't it? There's just no way we can just sit. There's just no way. I love my turtles. I've got 2 turtles. And they can do it. They just sit and they do nothing. They don't even have their eyes open, but they don't even seem to be watching. Yeah. It's amazing. They just are. Nothing happening. Nothing. It is amazing, really. Brilliant.
Perhaps we should all strive to be turtles. Yeah.
Lately, one thing that I've been maybe practicing is, it was inspired by something in one of Pernilla's videos about listening to the body, looking for a body yes or body no, and trying to pay more attention to the body's needs and not my mind's needs. And so what I've been doing is when I am done with any particular task, I'll sit on my couch, set a timer for 5 minutes, and basically just meditate on, get into my body and ask my body for what it needs. Does it need rest? Does it need food? Do I need to go to the bathroom? Is it thirsty? Something like that. And maybe wait for some sort of urge or inspiration of what my body wants to do. And I've been fascinated by how little it wants to do, how little it wants to do all of the things that I would fill my life with. All of the activities that I would do, all the errands I would run, the things I would watch, read, eat, consume on technology. So when you mentioned the turtles, like that's I'm feeling my body not needing to do all of these things and being completely content with just being a turtle on my couch.
Yeah,
And it's been
exactly.
really confusing because I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. All of these things that were just habitual. I don't want to do anymore because I've kind of noticed the absurdity and the pointlessness or the distraction, and I'm not upset about it. It's like I guess I'm content with just sitting here and not doing anything.
Yeah, even when we try not to do anything, we have to figure out a way to do that nothing. So we have to go to the body, to the feelings, to the sensations. We have to do meditation. We have to calm our thoughts. We have to do a lot of stuff not to do anything. It's funny. That's just our natural state is to just run in circles all the time.
And imagine how much
I envy my turtles. It's really amazing.
What I have noticed though, I'm not sure if, I guess I'm curious about whether others have experienced this, is that I still do a lot of those activities that I had done previously. But I have a lot more, there's just, I don't know, there's more like more peace and contentment and like like I'm not attached or clinging to them anymore. I'm just like, okay, this is the thing that I'm doing, and if I end up stopping doing this, that's okay. If it goes well or not, I'm just kind of flowing with what happens instead of getting wrapped around the axle and being so caught up in it, lost in it.
Yeah, that kind of brings us up to the third fetter stuff. And somebody was talking earlier, I think Matthias maybe, the third fetter is rites and rituals, which is kind of it's easy to see rites and rituals when it comes to, say, going to church or whatever that we do that is clearly superstition. But when you think about what determines a rite and ritual, it's doing things for a purpose, and especially repetitive. But if we do things for a purpose, we've got a story about the future for a start. We've got stories about control. We've got stories about choice and decisions, all part of that same thing. And it all takes us out of that let's say out of reality, out of what is actual. We get into our head again. But when you think about, do you always have lunch when the clock turns 12? That's a rite and ritual. Yeah. Do you have to always sit in the same chair, at the same place at the table? All of these things, are they compulsory? That's more the issue. Whether they're rites and rituals, but they're all still a way of selfing. I like a particular knife. I like a particular chair. I like whatever. It's all still selfing going on. Yeah. So once doubt goes, that's the next one to look at.
I think one interesting fact to add, it's like for me, for years I was very obsessed about doing nothing. You know, things I don't have to do this, I don't have to do this. I have to express kind of this reality in a certain way. And I think there's like great freedom in this message because it's not about what you do or what your body do, what you think about. So you can do nothing, but you're also free to do everything you want. You can have a family, you can have a very difficult job, you can be busy all the time. It has nothing to do with what you do, what you think about. And this is a great freedom in it. But of course, we have to understand it in a deep way. Otherwise, it's going to superstition. But there is a great freedom that when Jeremy said that you listen your body, I'm trying to do this more and more. And what I find out, it's my life. It required me my daily life required to me a lot of attention and organization. And no matter what I do, it's kind of the way this human life. It's tuned on. You know, like you have to move, you have to travel, you have to do this. And somehow I cannot get out of it. You know, when I try to get still, it gets worse because it's not the way that this body works right now. So I don't have, and some other bodies very cool life, very quiet. They are very. So I think it's a great freedom. In like you can be a turtle, or you can do whatever, or you can be a human if you want to. Yeah. That's what you are. So you have specific human that no other human have, whatever it is. I think there's a great freedom that you can be exactly you can be a unique expression of a human, and at the same time you are not. And I think this path, it's really the great freedom because it doesn't take away anything from you. So if you have desire, if you have specific thing that you want to achieve in life, well, you do it, you know, or try to do it or fail, you know, but it doesn't really matter at the end. And this is a great freedom because it doesn't matter. You can try as much as you want. Yeah. It's not that it doesn't matter, so I don't have to do it. No, it's because it doesn't matter that you are free to do it. You are really free. Try to fulfill all of your dream and see what happens. I think it's a great freedom.
Yep. Yeah, I'd agree. It doesn't matter. I keep saying to people, it does not matter what comes up. It doesn't matter what the response is. What does matter is your attitude towards it. And that's and even that suggests that there's a right and a wrong way, but there isn't whatever. But if you take your attention off what happens and look at how you feel about what happens, you're just one major step closer to being free from the compulsion. Okay, well, I mean, I don't feel I don't want to make people get involved. If they want to lurk, I'm quite happy for that. So Aya and Ramiz, I hope we've been of value to you, but I won't insist that you come forward and talk. You'll do that when you're ready. Whatever. So you've all reached the boring stage for me, so I think I'll go to bed. Yeah. Unless anybody wants to say something.
Thanks again. It's wonderful as always.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as exciting tonight, but it was good. There's always good value there. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much, Vince.
You're welcome. Thank you all for being here. It's great. Without you, it wouldn't happen, would it? Okay. All right, so maybe I'll see some of you on Monday morning, otherwise next week or whenever. Have a good life. Enjoy every day. Happy every day and merry every other day.
Thank you, Vince. It was nice.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone.